All right, everybody. I know it's been a while, but I've been pretty busy. As you can see, here's some fruits of my latest efforts, and we'll get into these. I thought I'd take this opportunity to make a video about some of the things I've been doing lately, get you caught up, and then show you some maybe some sneak peeks here at the end of some other projects I have going on. But right now, as you can see, I have a collection of industrial flats and also a water tower. They're all kind of related because I've made them all with my new laser cutter. And I was going to do a standalone video on the laser cutter, but I think what I might end up doing is just introduce it over time and show you how I use it in my future projects. But right now, what I want to do is just give you an overview of these structures here, and then we'll take them into the shop. I'll show you what they're all about in a little more detail, if you allow me to ramble on about them. But these are going to be, as you can see, they're for the Detroit 3 railers. It's going to be for the modular layout that will be on display this summer here in the Detroit area, Novi, for the NMRA National. So we'll get these into the shop. I'll talk to you about some of the plans for the NMRA National, and we'll get in there and take a look. So we'll see you in there. You might notice a resemblance in some of these structures. This was based off of my Federal Servo, which is actually based off of a real building down in Detroit, currently known as the Russell Industrial Center. This is one of the many walls of that building that I chose to model. So we'll bring this in first, and I'll show you how I use the laser cutter to make this. So as you can see, this is kind of like a freestanding deep flat. So it's about 6 inches wide and about 17 3/4 high. And it's made of 3mm basswood. You can see around the back here. And that comprises most of the structural parts. And then the base is actually, I just hand cut this out of 1/2-inch MDF. This isn't too far off from how I used to build my buildings. I did a lot of this stuff in foam core. The current Federal Servo is actually a Lexan sheet over like a shadow box frame. So part of the excitement with getting a laser cutter was to make stuff a little more proper, in my opinion, and then the repeatability. So once I had a design kind of figured out, I could run it over and over again with minor tweaks. What was cool about this little project, number one, I really always dreamt about having the ability to make these industrial windows. And let's go over here and show you. I made a bunch of these. These are so easy to run off too. I made this out of 20 thousandths polyback. And it's pretty easy to work with, pretty easy to glue, paint, and all that stuff. So this is polyback. It's basically like 20 thousandths thick MDF or masonite or whatever you want to call it. And you can get this stuff really cheap. I guess it's used a lot in furniture making, cabinet making for like backing and stuff. You can see I was experimenting with some other window cuttings. And the XTool has some neat features for figuring out power and speed, basically with a laser. And you'll see, hopefully in the future, I'll explain more. You just control power of the laser and speed of the gantry. So as you can see like the different levels of cutting, and you know, some of it doesn't cut all the way through, but you can kind of gauge where you can set up your laser power and speed to achieve your cuts without, you know, smoking out your material. I have not had too many problems with like burning material up or anything like that. I have a 20-watt laser, which I felt was pretty good. So far with a 20-watt laser, I'm able to cut this 3mm basswood, also MDF. I'll show you some of the other buildings. Another cool thing, one thing I always wanted to do is make my own brick panels. So this is polyback. And as you can see, it's painted and weathered now. But I was able to figure out how to create a brick pattern, and then actually engraved the mortar. I was able to control the thickness of the mortar by engraving. There's different methods, mostly cutting, engraving, and there's also kind of scoring. And I've used all three methods so far in these buildings. But, so as you can see, I also, like the concrete sections, it's polyback kind of layered and glued over the 3mm basswood. So that was this guy here. And you can see from the back, still kind of working on the windows. I use this 3M adhesive spray. I also bought some material, some polyback that had adhesive on the back already. I don't know. And then you see this is just clear styrene for the windows. This is what it looks like from the back side. I'll cover the back side here with some black paper or whatever when it gets set on the modular layout. And should probably talk about one of the coolest things you can do is stuff like this, these old steel letter signs. This was really trivial to do. I did this all in the XCS software, even the stands. I should mention a lot of the designs, I'm still using Tinkercad, and then I can export the designs as an SVG file for translating to laser cut. So anyway, that's Bodek Tube, named for Vic Bodek, kind of a founding member of the D3R, was also in Glancy, and a Wild Bills alumni. No longer with us, RIP. Really cool guy, so we wanted to honor him with this one building here. So yeah, I'll show you the other ones. So this little Ford plant is based off of a couple of his Village Industries buildings that still exist in the Northville and Plymouth area. This one here is kind of more based on the one that's known as the Wilcox Mill. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was near it the other day, and I saw that they're finally refurbishing it. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but it was pretty exciting to see. They're actually kind of restoring some of these sections because at some time, I think after World War II, it was sold to the Wayne County, and then part of it was converted, like the second floor was converted to storage and garage space. Anyway, there's two of these very similar. The other one's in Northville, but it's not very recognizable because it's kind of embedded into like a plant that was expanded quite a bit over the years. And right now, that one's being remodeled too, I think, into like a big self-storage facility. But this one whole side, there's a whole side of this that's exposed, and you can really make out what it is. All of these were water-powered off of branches of the Rouge River around here. And this one here, this sign's based on the one that would have been in Northville, and it was a gauge plant. I think he made gauge blocks and other machine tools. The one in Plymouth, I believe, made machine tools and then tooled up for like small instrument parts during World War II. Anyway, same concept, laser cut. This one was done a little differently. In fact, I made it kind of structural, so everything interlocked, all these pieces interlocked. So it's actually very light and stiff. It's almost a full building, but it's really meant to be viewed like a flat, so the backside's kind of generic. Here's an example of laser scoring. I just wanted to score out the windows. This top layer was done with quickboard, and I'll show you what that looks like. So yeah, the outer layer was done with this 1mm quickboard. I got some of this in 2mm also, and this lasers up real nice. A lot of the cutting can be done very quickly. I think a piece like this took me like 8 minutes or something. Don't quote me, but that's kind of the basic idea. You layer it up like that. Even things like this. The neat thing about laser cutting is I can make all this strip material now very accurately, you know. These little sections here, I actually did this out of chipboard. And this stuff lasers up pretty nice too. See, I made some notes about you can kind of, you need a lot of power, but you can run through it fast. I think that was the final settings I used. Windows are kind of the same concept as the Bodek Tube building. And he said, these aren't like super detailed because they're going to go on a modular layout and they got to get transported quite a bit. The painting is kind of the same methods I use on all my structures. And so I just wanted to show, this was something I built more than 10 years ago for my old layout. And at some point I modified it. It had like another couple spaces added to the length. I cut it down. I was going to use it on this layout, and then I never did. And I always kind of felt bad about that. I should have left it alone because I never did use it. But this was same concept. And here's how I used to make stuff. So you can see it's foam core layered over with basswood and cardboard and stuff like that. And then these windows, it used to be hard to get laser cut windows. I think I got this from Model Tech Studios. I asked him what he had available for like grid material, and he sold me this. So I used this on a few structures over the years and just cut them up as I needed them. But that's how I used to build stuff. So going forward, I'll be using my laser cutter. And what's cool is I can make copies and make some changes pretty easily. So this was my concept for making like the floors and stuff like that. I kind of figured out how to like notch and tab everything. And I made these like little biscuit joiners for the corners. And once it's all glued up and assembled into a structure, like I said, it's pretty stiff, very light. These are kind of rejects. I don't know what happened here, but that's kind of the basic idea. I learned how to notch all the corners too. I don't know if you could tell. But that way, when you assemble it, it all stays in alignment. So this is kind of like a real early 20th century, late 19th century brick mill face. And I did this out of 3mm MDF that I was able to engrave with my brick patterns. And this brick pattern was just a bunch. It was a SVG file I got off the internet for just like a brick and mortar pattern, and I just like linked it all up in the XCS software and was able to make an 11.5 by 18 sheet. That's about as big as I can get with the XTool S1 there. So it takes about 3 hours to make one of these sheets. And I use Tinkercad to do like the window layout. And the only thing that stinks is you got to be kind of careful. If you're just going to make these blanks and store them or whatever, when you put them back in the machine, you want to get them aligned pretty well. It's actually not that hard to do, but it's something to stay aware of. Here's how I do the corners. You can see it. I kind of notch them to link up vertically. The sign I did with XCS software. There's some neat features in there. One was called Trace, so you can make borders like this around signs and other parts of your structures. And what I did with the sign back was I ended up scoring the font into it, and then I cut the font out of that 1mm quick board, and it was pretty easy to put it all back together. And so yeah, this one's pretty cool. I hope to do some buildings like this for my own layout here in the future. You can see what the inside looks like. That's how I do the roofs. That's how I'm going to do all the roofs and floors from now on with these interlocked pieces and stuff. And I just kind of did a shadow box thing I just glued some construction paper in here just to kind of blank these windows out. These windows are kind of cool. I had these forever. Got these from a guy on eBay years and years ago. These are laser cut. I use these on my layout on a couple buildings. So it's kind of neat to be able to use them after all these years. I even made these brick arches too. I figured out how to make them, and they fit pretty good. I looking forward to doing more of this stuff for my layout. So this water tower here is a very unique looking water tower. Still exists today in Michigan. It's on the Muscatower Trail in Ravenna, Michigan. And I believe it was on a branch of the GR&I from Grand Rapids to Muskegon. And I think it was a Grand Trunk line at one time that Pennsy got control of. And this was apparently a water stop at one time. And I don't know how I came across it. I found it on the internet. And I was like, man, I got to try my hand at seeing if I can make this. This this was made of my K1C, so it's FDM 3D printed. And once I was able to do that, I moved on to making the tank. It's just an FDM print. And as you can see, it's wrapped with that 20 thousandths polyback. The cool thing about all this tech was I was able to figure out like how many boards, you know, around the circumference, you know, and got them even. And then at the point where I wanted to do the roof, I found a conical roof calculator, a conical sectional roof calculator on the internet, so I could get all these like crazy angles right. And then later on, I resin printed this whole assembly for the spout and all that. So just I did that all in Tinkercad. So it's pretty cool. Like the laser cutter came in handy just as I needed it. I don't know what I'm ever gonna do with this thing. It's pretty cool. I just built it for the challenge, and I guess I could make more of these if I wanted to. But I don't know. Just had to do it. It was pretty neat. Anyway, it's gonna go in a box probably and just hide out under the layout. Maybe I'll use it. I don't know. All right, so for this one here, this is based on a building that's still standing in Toledo over by the Union Station. It's called the Great Lakes Terminal Warehouse. And I had built one for my old layout years ago, and I still have it. I don't know if I'm ever going to use it. I'd like to, but I've been asked to sell it over the years, and I'm like, man, I'm just really attached to it. And this was built with a combination of MDF and foam core. These were Corber windows I chopped up. And you can see the sign is just a paper sign. It's nothing too fancy. But I had this on my old layout for a long time. It just never made it to this layout. That's what it looks like from behind. And so I wanted to make a copy of it. So as you can see, I did the sign with a laser cut stencil. So that's just really exciting, you know, to be able to do that. And I laid out the lettering and stuff in XCS. And I mean, it only takes like, I don't know, like 10 minutes to make this stencil. I'd probably do it a little different next time. I learned a lot doing this one here. But the end result, I think, was pretty cool. It was worth the struggle. And this was that trace function I was telling you about. I kind of used on that peninsular stove sign. You could do some really neat features with that. So yeah, I'm kind of pleased with the way this one came out. Like I said, I can make copies now, you know, of all this stuff and tweak on the sizes and arrangements. Here's another one I cut. I used slightly different material. I used all 2mm basswood. You can see it on the edge here, layered over. Of course, the structural part was 3mm. You can see my little joiners in there. Yeah, this is the other part. These are those little corner joiners. I just made a bunch of them, so I always have them on hand. So one really intriguing thing I can do with a laser cutter is make proper Insel brick. When I did that Jim Thorpe house, I wasn't like super happy with the way the Insel brick came out. It was just like painted plastruct material, you know. So I got this 65-pound cardboard. That's what this stuff is. And I painted it with primer and then etched and, not etched, but scored and engraved the Insel brick pattern. So I did the Insel brick pattern in XCS. As you can see, I have the proper pattern. So it's like 5x5. And you can see the way they have those dark bricks. They kind of lay out over the ends. Kind of rather brilliant. I don't know why I'm so fascinated with Insel brick. I just think it's so cool looking. Very, very Pennsylvania, you know. But I'll use this eventually. And, you know, I can do stuff like a fallen panel, you know, and it could expose like clapboard underneath or whatever. So I'll use this eventually. I can't wait to. It's going to be cool. I mentioned I wanted to show a couple sneak peeks at the beginning of this video, and here's one of them. This is a Weaver A5. I had been looking for one of these for a long time for the right price with the intent of putting Blue Nami in here. So this has a blue 2200 board. a little bit different from my 4408s I've been using, and I learned a lot on this project. So as you can see, I got to use my resistance solderer, and it was a fun little project, just about complete. Got a few more things to do. Hope to have it wrapped up soon. Something I'm working on. This is Downtown Deco number 37, Adams Avenue. This is the part 4 building. And as you've seen, I really like doing these interiors now. And I thought this would lend itself to having a nice set of interiors in there. So I'm going to start using a laser cutter for stuff like this. So it's much faster than 3D printing all this stuff. So you can see, I can even make what's cool, I can make my own sheet material now, you know. Not really a sneak peek, but more of an announcement. My layout's going to be in the current issue of Model Railroader, June of 2025. So if you're out and about and you see it, pick it up. Check out my article. I hope you like it. I'm very excited to be in Model Railroader. They're currently doing a series of articles on layouts that are going to be available for tours during the NMRA convention here in Michigan this summer. And maybe I'll see you here. And if not, maybe check out this article. Let me know what you think of it. So hope you'll enjoy, and we'll see you next time.